So, ever since I was a little boy, I can remember, right, riding my bicycle. I would find myself always riding my bicycle to the other side of town where the big houses are, you know. I've been a dreamer since I was a kid, to be honest with you. I've been a dreamer. I've always wanted something more. Coming up from the neighborhoods that we came from, there really was no real inspiration, but I used to get inspired. I had this one guy I can remember, this kid that was in, we was in the 7th grade together, right? And he used to always tell us his dad was a doctor. And the only thing that my parents and my grandmother would tell me that you only be successful and rich if you become either a doctor or a lawyer, right? And when I seen this kid's father pick him up from school, he had a blue Lincoln, right? A big blue Lincoln. And I compared his dad's car to the other cars that was picking up the other kids, and that's when I first realized, okay, when I grow up, I gotta do something important. You know, I gotta become something great. I gotta become something big in order to have the things that I really wanted. So that was my very first piece of inspiration. But as far as being a dreamer, how I envision things, that really started me becoming envisioning things. I was actually in the 8th grade, right? So I'm about to share with y'all one of the very first quote that I read into my history book, right? It was a quote. The quote said, I was in 8th grade. The quote said, "It wasn't my fault that I born poor, but it'll be my fault if I died that way." I'm gonna say it again in case somebody missed it. The very first motivational quote that I read that inspired me, and it altered my thinking, it altered my point of view. The quote read, "It wasn't my fault that I born poor, but it'll be my fault if I died that way." And I never forget it. It was in my first period class in the 8th grade. And I kept that, you know, I buried that, I burned it into my spirit, you know. I actually wrote it down that day and put it in my pocket. But I always knew I wanted something big, I wanted something greater, but I knew that hard work was gonna be attached to it. I'm the first person in my family that built a house, right? And done more than that, many more things than that. Looking at this view right here, right? So we here in this big beautiful house, right? Got the swimming pool, the endless swimming pool. I got my nice chain on, right? Even here, at this level of plateau, I'm being inspired to do more and to do greater just by looking over the city right now. Look how beautiful the city is, right? If you wanna get what you've never gotten, then you have to be willing to do what you've never done. And that's pushing yourself. You gotta push yourself, man, because if you don't push yourself, nobody else is gonna push you. Nobody else. If you don't get to work before time, you know, and stay after the bell has rang, right? Don't be one of those people that you know, soon as 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock comes, you rushing out the door. Especially if you're a salesperson. I'm a salesperson, you know. To get that extra sale, it's gonna take you to miss your lunch break. To get that extra sale, it might take you to leave work later than everybody else. But these are some of the sacrifices that you're gonna have to be willing to take in order to get where you ultimately wanna go. Sacrifices and discipline. You gotta be disciplined enough to make that extra phone call out. You gotta be disciplined enough to stay on time with that customer who's raising hell, cursing you out because things didn't go the way they wanted to be, right? Or they thought they heard something that you did not tell them on a sales call, right? You have to be willing to spread yourself thin. I also learned that in order to get what you want to accomplish out of life, you're gonna have to change one thing. Just somebody told me, in order to get what I want out of life, Alex, you're gonna have to change one thing. And I said, what is that one thing? And they said that one thing is everything.